Today I'm going to be doing the valve cover on the AU Falcon here. It's a pretty straightforward process. First of all, I want to remove everything that's obstructing the valve cover there. And so I'm going to undo the leads. I'm going to mark them at the I'm going to mark each one of them, just numbering 1 to 6. So when I put the leads back on, it's just brainless. I don't have to worry about which lead went where. So I've got to remove the PVC valve out of the way there, the intake snorkel here, the return hose there, the booster line there, just basically anything that's obstructing the valve cover from coming off. I'm not going to record this slowly and tell you everything that I'm doing in slow motion, because that's just pointless. It's pretty easy stuff to just remove everything out of the way. But if I run into a problem, I'll stop for a minute and explain what happened and why I ran into a problem, but there should not be any problems. So yeah, from this point on, the footage, I'm just going to speed it up 4 times just so you can still see what I'm doing, but no mucking around with watching me in real time. I'll just speed it up. Okay, here's an important step. When taking the throttle cable off, that there slides up. So when it's on there, don't try and pop it off because you'll break it. Just get a screwdriver if you need to help get it up, because like mine hasn't never been taken off, I don't think. Oh yes, it did. I did a intake manifold gasket a couple of years ago. Nonetheless, I couldn't do it by hand. I needed a screwdriver just to give that a little bit of a help to pop that up, get that off. With this one here, the kickback cable, you need to manually put your finger in there and bring that around, and then once it's around, then you slip that over the loop to come back around here, and same way to get it off, so you can just take it up like that. Okay, the PVC valve, just grab an old cup, just going to let that soak in degreaser, because it was a bit stiff to shake. Wasn't, well actually, I'll show you, you can hear it now. That's not how it was when I took it out, it was a bit stiff. So I'll let that soak in degreaser while I do everything else. She's got a few years on her there. First time the valve cover's ever been off in 20 years. Give it a good clean up. Why don't give it a coat of paint. Doesn't look too bad though. There's a bit of carbon build up around where the gasket, or just before the gasket where it's at. That it needs to be all cleaned up. Now you don't want to get any shit in there. But needless to say, I will be doing an oil change after this. But yeah, this is where the oil leak was from. All said and done, I could have just put silicone on the front there and been bodgy about it and fixed it up. There was no oil leaks anywhere else, and it was only leaking probably about, if I was to estimate it, that is, probably about a litre of oil a year. It was such a small leak, but nonetheless, the leak hits down the bottom area here, makes it all gunk up, and I'm forever degreasing down there because the smallest bit of oil collects so much dust. Get busy with cleaning up the head now, ready for the gasket, and cleaning the valve cover. Possibly give it a bit of paint and pretty it up. Put the gasket back on and put it back together. Okay, I just want to show you this close up here. I'm not using anything, no chemicals, no razor blade or anything. And this is not too bad. That's pretty dry. Any areas like this, I'll get a razor blade for. Just to self-satisfy myself, but I don't think I really need to. Just I'm going to for, you know, for myself, just to keep me happy. Using one of these little plastic guys here, cloth, just put it in like so. I'm just going to wet it, not too much, I don't want to soak it. That's enough. So I'm just going to go over the top, just give it a good clean. The reason why I'm using the plastic thing is just so I can try and push a little bit harder than what my fingers can without doing any damage. Just point out too, there's a good reason why you should do this yourself. Because no mechanic's going to be bothered to clean everything when it's not needed. You know, what's in there already is not going to interrupt anything. But, you know, I like to be thorough about things. I like to make sure that everything is nice and clean properly first. The old gasket, just because it's rubber, just came out. No drums there. It's actually right there in the trash. So I'm going to get in here and I'm going to actually brush around, give it a good clean. If you took this to a mechanic, they won't do this. They're just going to do the part of the job that's required, put it all back together. But in there, I'll get in there and give it all a good clean. I'll get that completed, and then I'll get to the other side and I'll sand it or whatever I have to do to prep it for painting.
And I'm not going to get in there for wire brush and whatnot, but that's clean enough. That's not going to get dirty when you touch it. So that's all brushed and degreased, and that's as much that came off. Anyway, that's not what this part's about. The gasket itself, compared to the original one, is completely different looking. You got the twin blade on there. You've only got the single on the original. It's thinner, so I've had to go over this whole lot. I didn't want to do this, but I've had to go over the whole lot first of the former gasket, and the reason why I use former gasket and had just enough for the job, it's nice and soft. But once it's aged, it dries out, and it doesn't completely harden like a silicone, but it does get to a point of it dries up and stays in its form. So I've used that over the whole rocker cover here, and I'm going to put a couple of laptops or boards or whatever just to press down on that through the night, like so, just to press down, and yeah, and let that, you know, take its shape. So I couldn't just put it in like this. Every time you try and turn it over, the gasket falls out, and you can't put it on the car if the gasket's going to fall out, so it needs to stay in strong. And you can see why I'm going to put a couple of boards on there, because already here it's coming out a bit. It needs to stay in. So the original one, it's thicker this way, shorter that way. Now, understandable shorter that way because it's been pressed with pressure for 20 years, so naturally it's going to be thinner this way. But yeah, it's thicker. When I push it into the rocker cover, it's actually a nice firm fit. One might argue this will end up the same way, and that's perfectly normal. I don't like that idea. I would have preferred this gasket was slightly thicker, and I would have been happy. And I might have made a mistaken purchase, and that's another reason why I'm recording this bit right here. I might have made a mistake because this gasket is actually for a BA. But when I looked it up, it said that the BA and the AU use the same gasket. Now I'm kind of alright, might be the same shape, might be compatible, so to speak, but the BA rocker cover may be thinner in here for that gasket to fit in firm. So even though the gasket might be the same shape, the rocker cover itself might be slightly different to why this gasket is slightly thinner. So anyway, I am going to use this. It should still work. And yeah, I've just had to use former gasket in there, and like I said, it's going to dry up through the night. It's not going to become hard, but it's going to be dry, good enough for me to turn the rocker cover over and be able to put it on the car.
couple of things I want to point out is when removing the hose from the brake booster, it was really stubborn. Would have been better off boiling a jug of water and pouring it on the hose there first to soften it up, and that would have slipped straight off. So it's the best way to do it really, because you don't want to break that connection to the brake booster there. And when putting the valve cover back on, going to make sure that the gasket is not going to fall out or something as the back goes on, because you can't see that part once as you're putting it on. I've gone for a drive and there's no oil leaks anywhere, so that's worked out really well. I do think that the gasket between the BA and the AU is different. Nonetheless, I was able to use the BA gasket with the former gasket. So that's it, that's done. Clearly I didn't need to paint the valve cover, but I wanted to. It looks more pretty. That's basically all it is. It just looks nice, it's better to look at. What I did with the valve cover is I cleaned it right up. I used a couple of times, I used grease and wax remover, I used methylated spirits, I used terps, and then went back to methylated spirits just to give it a all good clean, make sure that there was nothing on the cloth at all when I was going over that, to make sure that I had that perfectly clean. And the paint I used is a heat paint. I couldn't get forward red, so I just got the darkest red I could get, and that's this one here, and it can withstand up to 500 degrees heat. And the clear coat I used over the top of that is also heat resistant, can withstand, this is crazy, can withstand 1093 degrees heat. So I painted the whole thing, I didn't mask it off, I painted the whole thing, and then after it was all painted I gave it 2 coats of red and 3 coats of clear, and but after I painted it red I then sanded all these sections here just to highlight the valve cover, and then once I had it looking how I want it to look, then I went over it with clear 3 times, and that's it. So it's back together, job's done, I'm happy. Thanks for watching, till next time, cheers guys.